Joe again with Complete Immigration Guide. Today, let's talk about CIMTs, or Crimes Involving Moral Turpitude. If you have been convicted of certain crimes, either here in the U.S. or anywhere in the world, you need to familiarize yourself with that legal terminology, because you can be, one, denied a visa in a U.S. embassy, or denied entry into the United States as a visa waiver person, somebody who uses ESTA, or someone who holds a visa. If you have been convicted of certain crimes, that also goes for those who are lawful permanent residents, or those who hold green cards. Certain crimes involving moral turpitude can get you deported from the United States. Now, it's important that you know what those terms are, what those crimes are involved, because not all crimes, as far as U.S. immigration is concerned, are the same. If it was me, I found a good website called NOLO.com, NOLO.com. Look up their immigration page, and it gives you pretty good terminology and also what all the CIMTs are and what that means for your U.S. immigration. So it's very important. And with the ESTA, for instance, when you have to answer for certain crimes, you answer certain questions about your criminal background, you need to know what a CIMT is. You can just Google the term or go to that website, like I said. Now, my 20 years experience working with U.S. immigration, I have seen many times, and I'm not exaggerating, many times, dozens, if not hundreds of times, where people have been turned around, or as a lawful permanent resident with a green card, been put into what's called 240 proceedings, or deportation removal proceedings, where he or she has to go before an immigration judge, where that judge will make the determination of whether or not you can stay as a lawful permanent resident in this country. So you need to familiarize yourself with that if you have any kind of criminal background. Now, that does not have to do with drugs. These are, if you've been convicted of certain drugs, and that's completely different from CIMTs, or crimes involving moral turpitude. So, but except for in the state of Florida now, recent last couple of years, immigration has decided, or the immigration lawyers have deemed it, that if you are convicted of, for instance, marijuana or marijuana paraphernalia, that is not a deportable offense or a removable offense. So, but that doesn't mean that, other drugs are exempt. So, very important that you do your research, especially if you're a lawful permanent resident and you plan on traveling outside of the United States. And of course, when you come back, you will be flagged, and you will be sent to what's called secondary, and they will see whether or not you have qualify for removal proceedings with your CIMT. Now, there is such a thing as one CIMT exception, and again, you need to do that research. Perhaps if you have a criminal record, you should reach out to an immigration attorney. Now, and another thing is, each state is different. What might be a CIMT in one state here in the United States is not a CIMT in another state. So it's very tricky. So make sure that you understand what it is that you're dealing with here. So that's a really good tip that you'll want to know. Now, of course, this doesn't have anything to do with U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens have no problem. Doesn't matter what they're convicted of. They can come back into the U.S., of course. Now, the U.S. citizen have to be careful if they're a wanted person, or if there's an order out for their arrest. They will be stopped at the border and perhaps turned over to local authorities. But that's a totally different animal. So that's a really good tip. You should pay attention to that. If you plan on traveling into the United States, or as a lawful permanent resident, you plan on traveling out of the U.S. and coming back. So make sure that you're up to date on that. Be sure to check out my other videos as well. Talk about a whole range of things. Very important, complete immigration guide.